Yes, there are bars in the Houses of Parliament. We see them coming stumbling out of there sometimes when they've had a particularly successful legislative... It's my own wonderful employer, the London Eye. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. It's amazing, as I am contractually obliged to say. The London Eye is 135 meters tall. The tallest cantilevered observation wheel in the world. Cantilever just meaning it's supported on one side, not on two sides, like a Ferris wheel would be. It was designed as part of a competition to come up with, oh, look at that rainbow! Oh my God, sorry, I just interrupted myself, but that's a really beautiful rainbow there.
Where?
Behind the wheel. Wow, I've not seen that before. How beautiful! Yeah, so the wheel was designed as part of a competition to come up with a new landmark for London. And it didn't win, actually. It only came in second place. But British Airways were so impressed with the design that they decided to privately fund it themselves to the tune of £75 million. They managed to make all that money back in just 5 years of operation. And if you bought a ticket for today, you can probably work out how they did that, can't you? Oh, yikes! Lovely views from the top nonetheless. We'll be seeing what actually won that competition a little bit later on our journey today. And I'll let you guys decide for yourself whether or not you think it should have beaten the lovely London Eye. Now, coming up on our left-hand side here, Charing Cross Railway Station. It is the sort of transport centre for London, you might say, by which I mean all measurements to and from London are taken from the front of Charing Cross. So if someone says it's 100 miles to London, they specifically mean to the front of Charing Cross Railway Station. 150 years old, although the part you see on top was a bit of a newer edition built in the 80s. Quite a cute little design. It's supposed to look like a little green train coming out of a tunnel. And then on either side of the Hungerford Railway Bridge, we have the Golden Jubilee pedestrian bridges. These were built in around 2002, and you can see they're sort of built in a similar style to the Eye to complement it. And let's see if we get a wave off these lovely people up here. How you doing, guys? Sir, how you doing? My soggy friends, hello! Hey, there we go, we got one, here we go. Hey, there's a couple up there too, very nice. See if we can catch them on the other side too. How you doing, gang? Oh wow, that rainbow looks amazing. Now, on the right-hand side here, we have the Royal Festival Hall, which gets its name from the Festival of Britain that took place in 1951. The Festival of Britain was basically put on to kind of raise everybody's spirits, cheer everybody up after the long, difficult period of World War II. That's where the London Philharmonic Orchestra are based. And if you want to see them perform, but you don't feel like paying for a ticket, if you check out the website, it will actually tell you when they're rehearsing, and all of the rehearsals are open to the public. So you can just go in there on your lunch break sometimes to get like your own private concert, which is quite cute. In fact, this whole area of South Bank, lots of nice little bits and pieces to see and do along here if you're looking for a short walk. And there's a second-hand book market under the bridge there too, which is quite cool. Now, if you look to your right-hand side, you might also notice that there's a good bit of graffiti over there. Now, that's just not because that area is run down or anything. That's because that's the Undercroft Skateboard Park. It was the first ever... the first ever purpose-built skateboard park. I'm sorry, somebody just did a really good Titanic impression back there. So that set me off. My apologies, they were doing the music and everything. Once more.
Rainbow. That's a big rainbow.
Wow. Well, there we go. That's definitely one advantage of the rain and the sun anyway, guys. That's an astonishing rainbow in front of us there. Now, not quite as beautiful as that rainbow. If you look on the right, you can see the Royal National Theatre, this big chunky building over here, once described by King Charles as looking like the back end of a nuclear power plant. But it's not just the king that thinks this building is ugly. It was actually voted Britain's ugliest building 5 years in a row. Royal National Theatre. If you want to see a West End show, though, and you don't want to pay West End prices, check out Royal National Theatre. There's lots of the shows that have a run on the West End. They'll debut in there, and the tickets will only cost you about 1/3 the price you pay on the West End. Now my personal favourite building coming up here on our right hand side, just ahead of us. You might be able to see it's got red bricks, white stripes along the front, and then there's a tall grey tower with a green spiky top. This is the OXO building over here. Do you guys know OXO cubes? OXO cubes, anybody? OXO cubes, yeah? They're these little cubes made of meat powder, and you put them in water and it turns into gravy. English cooking, the finest in the world. Well, this building here used to be where they stored all the meat that would go into the OXO cubes. And if you look at the tower, it's slightly hard to tell now from the reflection, but you can see it looks like it says OXO up on the tower, OXO as in OXO, making it an advert, and they got into big trouble about that tower in 1930 because the River Thames is officially a royal highway, and it is illegal to advertise along a royal highway. So they were actually taken to court over that tower, but they had a very good lawyer, and their lawyer said, "No, Your Honor, that's not advertising. Those are just windows, you see, that coincidentally just so happen to be in the shape of a circle, an X, and another circle. And because there's no law in the UK against what shape your windows can be, they actually won that lawsuit, believe it or not. Those windows glow bright red at night time, just like all normal windows, of course. So the OXO company's not based in there anymore, but it sort of became iconic over the years, so they've kept the OXO up there. Now, on our left-hand side, we start to get our first view of the dome of St. Paul's Cathedral coming up. St. Paul's Cathedral, the second largest domed cathedral in the world after the Basilica. This one is actually version number 5 of St. Paul's. The 4th version burnt down in the Great Fire of London in 1666. This one was completed in 1711. Now, when Sir Christopher Wren was designing this building in the early 1700s, do you know what was really popular in England at the time? What everybody was absolutely crazy about? Pineapples. Everybody was mad about them. They just arrived to England. They were new, exciting, and incredibly expensive. One pineapple would have cost you £5,000 back in the day. So in the original design for this building, Sir Christopher Wren wanted to put a 60-foot tall pineapple on top of the central dome. But in the end, the church overruled him. They said that would be too much. So he had to settle for the 2 little golden pineapples that you can now see on top of the 2 clock towers up there. You see the 2 little golden balls up there? Those are both pineapples. And in fact, you will see pineapples used as a decorative feature in lots of buildings and architectural designs from the 1700s because they are a symbol of wealth and power. People used to literally rent pineapples so they could walk around with them to show off how much money they had. Like the Louis Vuitton handbag of its day. Like, yeah, check out that pineapple, yeah. How you doing, buddy? How you doing, lads? Oi, oi! Do you like pineapples, sir? No? You're good. Going under the Blackfriar Bridges here, we've got the Blackfriar Road Bridge behind, the rail bridge ahead, and a collection of these red columns in the centre. Slightly unusual. I'll let you guys have a think as to why they might be there. We'll come back to them again on the return journey. Now you'll notice on the left-hand side there's no tall buildings anywhere near St. Paul's Cathedral. Now that's by law. By law you have to be able to have a view of the dome of St. Paul's from the surrounding area and from 8 different points all across London, which is actually why some of the buildings in London are such weird, funny shapes. In many cases it's actually to allow for a view of the dome of St. Paul's from one of those 8 points. And then on the opposite side, you can see there's a big, huge chimney stack here. And you might think, well, why does an art gallery need a chimney stack? That's because the building on our right-hand side here used to be the Bankside Power Station. It was a coal-fired power station that used to generate most of the electricity for London, but it was causing a lot of pollution, so they shut it down in the 1980s, reopened it in the year 2000 as the Tate Modern. It is now the house or the home of the largest collection of modern art anywhere in the world, and it's 100% free to visit. So I do recommend, if you happen to have a rainy afternoon to kill, not that that would ever happen around here, gang, but if you happen to have one to kill, it's a lovely place to do it. Oh, now here we are, the Wobbly Bridge. Come on, surely we can get a wave off the wobbly bridge. How you doing, wobbly people? How you doing? Oi, oi. Oi! There we go. Yes, now we're cooking. Now on our right-hand side here, you can see there's a round white building with a thatched roof and the red flag flying above. This is Shakespeare's Globe Theatre. Now the original Shakespeare's Globe was built in 1599, but it only lasted until 1613, sadly, because in 1613 they were putting on a production of Henry VIII, and they wanted it to be a really cool production. They wanted to use special effects, so to create the sound of thunder, they fired a live cannon during the performance. Created an amazing thunder sound effect, but sadly it also made a hole in the roof and started a fire that burned the original globe to the ground. So the one we can see here today is a reproduction, but it's totally authentic. Took them 27 years in total to complete it, built using all original Elizabethan construction techniques and materials. You can still get yourself a standing ticket in the round in the globe for as little as £5. But it does mean you could be standing in the rain watching Shakespeare for 3 hours, so I think they should be paying you. But anyway. Now coming up to the Lonely Bridge. Aww. The loneliest bridge in London. This is Suffolk Bridge up here. The reason it's called the Lonely Bridge is because it gets the least foot traffic of any bridge in London. There's no forgetting wave. These people are too wet to wave. How you doing, guys? Hey, yeah! Yay! Wave! Oh, very good. That's my first wave off Suffolk Bridge today, I should say. That's great. Now, over on the right-hand side, far from lonely, we have the Anchor Bar. There's been a pub or a brewery or an ale house of some sort called the Anchor on this site for 400 years. The very famous Riverside pub, lots of literary famous people used to drink in there. William Shakespeare allegedly drank in there, Charles Dickens drank in there, the diarist Samuel Pepys drank in there. Not at the same time, but there probably is some cheesy poster of them all having a drink in there together inside there somewhere. Really nice bar as well. Obviously not a lot of punters there at the moment because of the rain, but really good bar. Going under Cannon Street here. Now coming up here on the right-hand side, we have the Shard, the tallest building in London, and it will always be the tallest building because that's as tall as you're allowed to build anything, 309 metres by aviation law. Now if you want a really good view of London, you can go up to the top of the Shard for £40, but I don't recommend that. I recommend you go to the opposite side, and can you see over there's a golden ball at the top of a stone column. That is the monument to the Great Fire of London, simply called The Monument. It was built shortly after the Great Fire in 1666 to commemorate it, but also as a public observation platform that the citizens of London could use to climb up to watch their city being rebuilt. Because even though the death toll in the Great Fire was very low, only 6 people were recorded as dying, 85% of the population became homeless at that time. So they really were building the city up again from scratch. So you can climb all the way to the top of the monument for just £6, and they give you like a little certificate at the end. The only catch is no elevator, so you do have to climb all 311 steps, but there are amazing views from the top, and it's got a lot more history than the Shard as well. Where's our rainbows gone? Yeah, if you look on the left-hand side in between the two buildings here, you'll be able to see the stonework on the column. It's actually the tallest freestanding stone column in the world. There's no rebar or any other kind of reinforcements inside it. And also a garbage barge. There you go. Let's hope we're upwind of that, fingers crossed. Well now, speaking of views of London, it's the bridge you all came to see. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. It's amazing. The one and only London Bridge is behind us. That's right, the big slab of concrete we just went underneath is in fact the world-famous London Bridge back there. And the bridge we can see in front of us right now is actually Tower Bridge. But don't feel bad if you ever mixed up Tower Bridge and London Bridge. Lots of people mix these two up. Google image search will even mix these two up. And do you guys know, what's her name? Do you know Fergie from the Black Eyed Peas? Yeah, well, she's got that song, London Bridge. And where'd she shoot the music video? Tower Bridge! Not very Fergalicious, Fergs. Now, before we get to Tower Bridge, though, guys, we are about to go past 11,500 tons of naval history. On our right-hand side here, we have HMS Belfast. HMS Belfast fired some of the opening shots in the D-Day landings in Normandy. HMS Belfast helped to sink the Scharnhorst, which was Adolf Hitler's favourite boat and a vessel 3 times its size. HMS Belfast went on an incredibly dangerous mission through the Arctic to resupply the Soviet Union in World War II, which is why it is currently decorated in Arctic camouflage. It was decommissioned in 1963 and sold for £1 to the Imperial War Museum. It's now a floating museum. You can go on board. You can see exactly how it used to operate in World War II. If you've got any interest in naval history or World War II history, I really recommend HMS Belfast. A very unique opportunity to go on board a ship preserved in its size and class from that time period. Well, now then, we're coming up to Tower Bridge. I'm just going to move to the back of the boat here, guys, so I'm not in all of your photos. But if you are taking photos, gang, please do stay sitting down, just because the captains do need a clear line of sight here. Now, Tower Bridge is a relatively modern bridge, actually. It was completed in 1894, but the Victorians designed the stonework on the columns so that it would sort of look older, so that it would match with the Tower of London that we can see on the left-hand side, from which it gets its name. The Tower of London itself being much, much older, from 1066. Founded by William the Conqueror. Now, Tower Bridge is a vascular bridge, or a vastule bridge, which means it can open in that middle section. Now, in its first year of operation, I believe it opened about 6,000 times. Today, it normally opens maybe 1 or 2 times a day, just because there aren't as many tall ships anymore as there used to be. But any ship that wants it to open for them has the right to have it open as long as they give 24 hours notice, because river traffic has right of way over road traffic in London. Now, we've been doing pretty well on the waves here, guys, especially considering how bad the weather's been, but we absolutely have got to try and get some waves from this bridge, because the Edwardian legend says that if we can get a wave from the people on this bridge, we get 5 years good luck for us, for the boat, and everybody on the boat. It's a real Edwardian legend, because this was the final bridge the sailors would go underneath, so all their friends and family used to line up along here to wave goodbye to them. So let's get a few waves going. Oi, gang! Hey, Tower Bridge! Oi! Hello, somebody! Yay! He saved us right at the end there, gang. That was good. Phew! There we go. 5 years in the bag. Now, we're officially in the old river port of London. Now we've crossed under Tower Bridge. In its heyday, this was the busiest river port in the whole wide world. They said you could get from one side of the river to the other here without using a bridge, because there'd be so many boats tied up, you could just hop from boat to boat to boat to boat to boat. Now, we won't be going down there today, but for any of our North American visitors on board, straight ahead of us there is the area of Rotherhithe, which is where the Mayflower set off from, that brought the Pilgrims to North America. There's actually a bar down there called the Mayflower as well. That's a good little bar. Now, all the buildings we can see on our left and right here, these used to be storehouses, big huge warehouses that would store all the goods coming back from all over the world. Primarily spices, in fact, and if you look at Butler's Wharf, on the right-hand side, you can actually see the word spice is carved into the white bar at the top of the building. That's because spices were a massive, massive import because before refrigeration was invented. It is not connected to the Spice Girls, as somebody did ask me last week. Now, in a moment, gang, the boat is going to turn to the left. When we do turn to the left, you'll get a great opportunity to take a picture of the bridge with the skyline behind. But please do stay in your seats, guys, if you're upstairs in particular, just because it will get a little bit rocky when we turn, and we don't want to lose anybody overboard if possible. Now, Tower Bridge is a vascular bridge, as I was saying, opens in the middle to allow those tall ships to pass through. Now, obviously, when it opens in the middle section, they have to stop the road traffic on either side with traffic lights, and that system's been around for years and years and years. It works really, really well for the most part. Except for one foggy night in 1952. There was a man named Albert Gunter, and he was driving his red double-decker bus across this bridge, and because it was so foggy, he did not see the red light. So as Albert was driving across, he suddenly realized, I'm not going straight anymore, I'm going uphill. By the time he worked out what was going on, he knew it was too late to hit the brakes. So good old Albert did the only thing he could do. He put his foot down, he put the pedal to the metal, and he ramped his bus over the 12-foot gap that had emerged between the two halves of the bridge. Somehow he managed to land it safely on the other side. Albert was declared a national hero, given the day off and £10, which was actually a little bit more money back in 1952, in fairness. And as a very, very cute little addendum or extra part to the story, there was actually a man on board that bus getting married at the end of the month. And not only did he invite Albert to the wedding, but Albert actually picked up his bride and brought her to the church in that very same red bus, which I think is the cutest story ever. And we actually have a couple of red buses up there, as if on cue now. Perfect. Just in time for our story. So I didn't believe it at all when I first heard it, but it is definitely true. I recommend you look it up. And in fact, speaking of the Spice Girls, they paid homage to it in Spice World, the movie, for any Spice Girl fans, when they too ramped their bus over the very same gap on the very same bridge. As a little tribute. Anyone up there now? How you doing, lads? Oi, oi. Hey, there we go. More luck in the bag. Here we go. Come on. Yes. Well now, gang, considerably less cute than our last story. If you look to the right-hand side here, you can see the Tower of London. Now, the Tower of London's been used for loads of things. It was a palace, it was a mint, it was even a zoo at one point in the 1200s. There were lions and tigers in there and a polar bear that would come out and swim in the moat. It was a gift to King Henry from the King of Norway. But it's most famous as a place of imprisonment and torture. If you look to your right, just along the bank here, you can see the words written there, entry to the Traitor's Gate. Now, underneath those words, there used to be a small tunnel, and it's been bricked up since, but boatloads of prisoners would be brought into the Tower of London through that tunnel. And that was a one-way system. If you went in there, you did not come out. Lots of people got executed in the Tower of London. Two of the most famous people, probably Anne Boleyn and Catherine Howard, Henry VIII's ex-wives. They were both executed in there. And believe it or not, it was actually a privilege to be executed inside the tower. That was only for the royals. Average people, normal people like you and me, sir, we don't get executed in the tower. We get executed outside on Tower Hill for entertainment purposes. And fun fact for you guys, the last public execution took place in 1868, but the first tube line, the first subway, the Metropolitan line, that opened up in 1863. So for a period of 5 years, you could actually take in the subway to go witness a public execution, which is kind of crazy to think about those time periods connecting. Now, if you do want to visit the Tower of London today, you won't be able to see anyone get executed. Aww. But you will get to see the crown jewels. They've been in there for over 600 years, and they're protected by the yeoman warders, also sometimes called the beef eaters. And they actually live in the Tower of London with their families, because protecting the crown jewels is a 24-hour day, 7-day-a-week job. And they're real soldiers too. You don't get that job unless you've done real soldiering for 10 years plus. So they're pretty serious guys, but they do a couple of tours of the tower. If you are going to do a Tower of London tour, I really recommend the Beefeater tour, because they do the best job, because it's literally their home, so nobody knows it better than them. Now, where are we? Oh, here we go, coming up to London Bridge. And look, I know I was being very rude about London Bridge earlier on. I was saying it was ugly, and it is. But it's also very important, historically speaking. There has been a bridge on this site here for over 2,000 years. The first bridge we have a real record of was built by the Romans in about 50 AD. Now that lasted up until 1209, when it was replaced with probably the most famous visual version of the bridge, the medieval stone bridge. And that bridge was crazy busy because it was the only bridge that crossed the River Thames all the way up until the 1700s. I'm just coming downstairs to make sure everyone's okay down here. You guys alright down here? You're alive? Okay, good. I'm just proving I'm real. I'm not just a pre-recording. It's so warm and nice down here. What was I doing upstairs? All those mad people. I'm only joking, guys. I love you up there. Yeah, so this bridge was crazy busy. They said it would take you 30 minutes to go from one side of the bridge to the other side any day, any time of the day, because of the pure volume of human and animal traffic going back and forth, because it was the only bridge. So, because of all of that wear and tear, it did tend to fall down a little bit, which is where we get the London Bridge song from. Do you guys know the London Bridge song?
Yeah.
You know it? Alright, let's see you know it. Ready? Here we go.
London
Bridge is falling down, falling down, falling down. London Bridge is falling down.
My fair lady.
Hey, very nice, guys. Very good. The end's the hardest part. That's good. That's good. I did that last week, and there was an American guy. He was singing very loud, really big voice. So I thought he knew all the words, but he was faking. He didn't know the words. So I put the microphone up to him in the end, and I said, "London Bridge is falling down." He went, "Oh, damn," which I thought was a great guess. You know, very in the spirit of the song, if not quite technically correct. Oh, now speaking of bridges, here we go. If you remember earlier on in the tour, I was saying there was a competition to come up with a new landmark for London. Well, this skinny little bridge up here is what beat the London Eye to be the landmark for London. So it's officially called the Millennium Bridge, but we call this one the Wobbly Bridge, because when this bridge opened up in the year 2000, it was so wobbly and so wibbly that everybody who walked across felt very, very sick, and they began to vomit over the side of the bridge. You did good, guys. You did great. Well done. So yeah, loads of people started puking over the side of this bridge. So they had to, after only 2 weeks of operation, they had to close this thing for 2 years and get a NASA engineer to help them take out the wobble using 91 dampeners. So it no longer wobbles. But we still call it the Wobbly Bridge, because we won't forget those brave River Cruise tour guys. They got vomited on for our freedom. Now, oh my goodness, guys, it's really pelting it down out here. Oh, anyway, just before on the left-hand side here, up ahead of us, you can see it there. Yeah, that's Blackfriars #1 with a big, huge back end on it. The big, huge bump. Lots of fun nicknames for that one. The Boomerang, the Cocktail Shaker, and my personal favorite, the Kim Kardashian. Lots of fun little nicknames, like every good building in London. Back under Blackfriars here with its 100% solar-powered roof, which is getting loads of action today, that's for sure. It's a thought that counts, you know. And now you remember in between the two bridges, there's these red pillars on either side. So those red pillars, they used to hold up St. Paul's Railway Bridge, which was actually the first bridge to ever bring steam engines across the Thames. However, it started falling apart in the 1980s, so they began to build these two new bridges around it. But what happened was, when they went to finally remove those last pillars, they realized the Victorians had built them so well, the only way to take them out of the ground would be to use dynamite. And if they did that, they'd end up blowing up the two new bridges they just built. So just like all good builders, they just sort of left them there and hoped no one would notice. Now, speaking of good builders, on our right-hand side here, you can see we're going past a lot of construction equipment. We see the guys and girls here working away all day and night, because London is getting itself a brand new sewer system. And just like everything in London, we can't just give it a normal name, we have to give it a silly nickname. So this one has been nicknamed the Super Pooper, of course. But even though the River Thames does not have a very good reputation, because historically speaking it was not very clean, these days it is actually one of the cleanest urban rivers in the world, believe it or not. Now when you look at the water, you might think, God, that water doesn't look very clean. But that's because that is mostly naturally occurring silt, because the river is relatively shallow, so boats churn it up. The water quality itself is actually pretty good. There are over 125 different types of sea life living in the River Thames. And I do say sea life because people forget that this is a saltwater river here. This is an ocean river, so we have all sorts of sea creatures in the Thames. We got seahorses in the River Thames. We've got seals in the River Thames. There's a seal kept popping his head up and down today up near the pier on the other side, which is quite cool. We've got dolphins in the River Thames. And of course,
No.
Those sharks indeed. 6-foot-long taupe sharks have been spotted in the River Thames. Now they don't normally come up this far where we are right now, but down towards Tower Bridge where we were earlier on, and kind of further out towards Canary Wharf, that's where they start coming in looking for lunch. So if you drop your Greg's sausage roll in down there, just let it go, guys. It's not worth it. Don't go in after it. Now, speaking of wildlife, if you look on the right-hand side here, guys, just once we go past the Wellington boat, you'll be able to see there are green lion heads all along the quays. And these green lion heads have rings in their mouths. So now the lion heads are traditional mooring points where boats would be tied up to, but they also act as a kind of flood warning system, because there's a poem about flooding and these lion heads in London, and the poem goes like this: when the lion heads are drinking, London is sinking. When the water's at their mains, we're going down the drains. And when the lion heads are ducked, London is flooded. That's right, sir, flooded. Notoriously clean-mouthed, of course, the English. Now here we are coming up to Waterloo Bridge. Now this bridge is also sometimes called the Ladies' Bridge, because this bridge was built 100% by women during World War II when all the men were away fighting. And fun fact for you, gang, this bridge that was built 100% by women is the only bridge in all of London's long history that was ever completed ahead of schedule and under budget.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. If you want it done right, you know who to go to, huh? Now, gang, we're making good time on the way back here, guys. You'll notice we were a bit slower going out because we were going against the tide, whereas now we're going with the tide, so we're kind of bombing along here on the way back. Now, on the right-hand side here, this is the oldest thing you are going to see on the tour today. This tall stone column right here is Cleopatra's Needle, genuine Egyptian obelisk, 3,500 years old, older than London itself. It was a gift from the Egyptian government to the British after they helped fight Napoleon in the Battle of the Nile. And if you look at the bottom, you can see there are 2 sphinx. Now, traditionally speaking, those sphinx should be facing outwards so as to ward off evil. But the Victorians didn't know that, so they placed them facing inwards here, presumably sucking in all the evil that's possible around. So it's literally the only place in the world where you'll ever see 2 sphinxes facing each other having a little chit-chat. Now, here we go, gang. Our last bridge is here. I don't know how we're going to do for waves on this one. Everyone's washed out of it. How you doing, lads? Oh, boy. Hey, sir! We'll try and get some on this last one here. This is our last chance, gang. This is our last chance. Hey! Oh! Hey! Oh! Hey!
There's no one there.
I'm sailing here. Oh, hello!
There's no one.
Hey! Oh, we got a little one. We got a little one. Okay, all right. I'm happy. I got a little one. Well now, ladies and gentlemen, we will be making our way back to the dock in 1 or 2 minutes. When we do start to tie up the boat, guys, if you're on the top deck, just don't go in a rush to get downstairs, just because it'll be a bit rocky and we don't want to lose you at the last minute. The bathrooms downstairs will now be closed for cleaning, but if you do need to use the toilet, there's some just inside the ticket office, which will be up where you exit today. Well anyway, gang, just quickly before we dock here, on the right-hand side, we can see there's a very beautiful golden eagle statue over here. This is the Royal Air Force Memorial statue. Behind that, you might be able to make out 1, 2, 3, 4 little green roofs with the flags flying on top. This is the Ministry of Defence building over here, sometimes called the iceberg, because what you see on top is only a small part. The real action is all taking place underneath that building. We don't know how deep it goes. Some people say 10 stories, some people say 20 stories, but we do know that underneath that building there is a nuclear bunker. Underneath that building there are secret tunnels that connect, well, yeah, not secret I suppose, if I know about them, but tunnels anyway, that connect over to the Houses of Parliament and connect to 10 Downing Street. So in the event of some kind of a nuclear catastrophe, all the politicians will be okay. Phew. But actually, interestingly enough, in 1999, when the London Eye was under construction, before they finished it, the Ministry of Defence, they actually took the London Eye to court because they said that the London Eye would be a national security risk because of all the spies, all the sneaky spies. They said that they could go into the London Eye and look into the windows of the Ministry of Defence. But luckily for us, the judge threw the case out of court, and this is a real quote, a direct quote from the judge. He said, "You are the Ministry of Defence, buy some curtains. So, quite a sassy judge on that ruling there. But thanks to that sassy judge, we've got the lovely London Eye here today. Quite a romantic place, the London Eye. Since it was opened in the year 2000, there have been over 6,000 marriages.
Picture. Oh, fair enough. How you doing, guys? Hi. There we go. Come on. Soggy.
Thanks.